bow his head.
Now, don't
You're
you start,
trying.
computer. Let's
You're
see.
trying to
Are you
train them up.
serious?
Oh, don't you start. See,
Selena,
good.
Selena, Selena.
It's a bad baby. Oak Cliff girl. Can't make you change my world. Damn, you're so fine, girl. Oak Cliff girl. Put them heels on and prove my
Welcome to
worth.
Selena's Couch, where you are welcome to be free to be yourself. So you can lay your head on my couch, on my pillows.
It's all good. We can do whatever we wanna do now. I'm in my bag right now, and I got a feeling, babe. Yeah, you gon' be my number one lover. Spend the night making love to each other, with the lights on top of the covers. Just me and you, babe. And I feel like you're my
Love you to Reese's Pieces.
Get you a word. Nana nana boo boo.
Hello, 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 and welcome to
I don't
Selena,
think
Selena,
we
Selena. Thank you guys for joining me today, everyone that will
uh,
come through.
let's
Um,
get
I'm really excited to introduce you to two lovely ladies. Let me get my screen. I'm not so sure why my screen is looking like this, but let me get my screen right. Yes, 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 yes. So thank you so much, Miss April Love, for rejoining my membership. I really appreciate you, sweetie. Miss April, guys, if whenever I get some mods in here, I need for you guys to put Miss April's link in the chat. Thank you so much, Real Chase, for coming through and showing me some love, just stopping by. And those who will come in the future, hello, hello. You know, I can't be doing a whole bunch of stopping and speaking to everybody that comes through, but I wanted to introduce you to two lovely ladies. It was really kind of, I'm gonna say kind of surreal. My friend that does my eyebrows, she was telling me about this lady that, she knows. And she was like, Selena, she has a powerful story. You guys, you need to connect with her. Y'all need to connect, and you need to have her on your podcast. And I said, you know what? That would be an excellent idea. And she was just telling me her story and how she was basically a walking miracle. And I'm gonna let Miss Mary tell you. I think she's having some technical difficulties over there. It's buffering, but just to kind of give you some of her story, she had a some type of liver cancer. I'm not sure the name of it, but it's a type of liver cancer that is rare, as well as the doctors even gave her 15 months to live. Now, I don't know about you, but if the doctor told me I have 15 months to live, I would just be devastated. And I would try to find any type of cure. What can we do so that I can live longer? So she's going to be telling her story. Also, she has her donor here, her donor who was also a member of her family, which is her niece, right? And so her niece will be sharing her story and what it took, for them to get this miracle going. And it actually worked out in her favor. Thank you so much, Tina Marie, and good to see you. Hey, Jack, how are you? Good to see you. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Rich, how are you? I'm so glad that you guys came through. Again, like I said, I'm gonna have to wait until she can reconnect. I'm not sure what's going on, but something happened with um, her device. So I'm gonna hopefully she'll come back up. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the link just in case if they have problems reconnecting. But this has really been an issue. we tried to do it actually, I think it was a Monday, and she just they had technical difficulties then. So I'm gonna put some music on or something until I find out from her what's going on. Let me see. I'm new to this, some of this stuff. I'm still trying to learn. Hope everybody doing well today. Hope everybody is doing well today. Let me see. Um, yes, thank you so much, Tina. I'm so happy to see you. Okay, she's back.
We had to switch to the
I was like,
phone.
not again. Okay, gotcha. I was like, not again. This is not happening. Okay, so Miss Mary, I want you to take me to what was going on in your life. You decided to go when you decided to go to the doctor.
This all started
Yeah, you
back
hear
in,
me?
yes, can you hear me? It all started back like in 2019. I was
Yes, ma'am.
always tired. I was always fatigued. I was very tired. And I kept gaining weight, and my feet kept swelling, and my stomach kept swelling. But I thought that it was just bad eating habits, lack of exercise. So that's what I thought. And so at the end of the year, my feet just never would go down. So I went to my primary doctor in January of 2020, and she was concerned. She told me I needed to go see a specialist like right away, a gastroenterologist like right away. So, and then that was also the year of the
Mhm.
pandemic. And so I got an appointment and I went there like in, I think it was February, somewhere along in there. But I went there and he was like just greatly concerned about my liver, and he was just
Mhm.
telling me I needed to go see a hepatologist because my liver was scarred so very bad, right? And then we got laid off from, we didn't get laid off, but COVID happened, and so my job shut down. Everybody had to work from home in March of 2020. So after I finally got an appointment to go see a hepatologist, and when I went to go see the hepatologist, they also discovered too that I had a mass on my liver, and that the mass was 6.5 centimeters. It was called hepatocellular carcinoma. And so I had liver cancer. They diagnosed me with liver cancer, hepatocellular carcinoma. And then they also said that I had liver cirrhosis where my liver was under 15%. And so he said that, they could not remove the mass. Every time I would go, because of the tumor and the size of the tumor, no one would touch me, right? So I sent my records to MD Anderson. And because that's where my son also had hepatocellular carcinoma when he was 11. He had cancer twice
Wow.
when he was young. And so they removed part of his right lobe, and then they removed the entire right lobe the second time it came around. So they removed the whole right lobe, but I thank God he's 40 now and he's doing well. And so back to me, I sent my records to that same place, MD Anderson in Houston. And you have to send your records there in order for them to like kind of assess you or whatever. They look at everything before you can get an appointment there. And because of the size of the mass, they would not touch me. They because it was a great risk. And so I sent it to the UT Southwestern, and still nobody would touch me, right? And so every time my son and I would go to the doctor, and I was always in excruciating pain, and I was always like real tired. It was like just beyond fatigue, right? I can just be coming from the store and driving home, and I would get real sleepy. But And then my memory had got a little foggy as well, and my stomach was getting bigger and bigger. And I remember one time coming home and my niece asking me, was I pregnant? Because my stomach was so big, and they was like, I know Jesus, turned water into wine, and there's only one Virgin Mary, so I know you can know what is going on, but I never would tell them what was going on with me. And so I remember going in June of 2020, and I remember going to June 25th, I believe it was, June 22nd, June 25th. I remember going to the doctor by myself this time because my son was always with me. And every time we would go, they would always talk about putting me on hospice. Every time they was like, we can give you something for the pain. And because when I would say I was in excruciating pain, I was in excruciating pain. It was like I was being stabbed and somebody just kept turning it and kept turning it and kept turning it till I just couldn't find any relief, to where I was just curled up like in a fetal position, just rolling back and forth. But anyway, when I remember going to Dr. Gupta over at Baylor, and I remember him telling me, that there's nothing they could do and they could just give, because every time when you go, they have a whole team, a transplant team, right? And they review your case every week. They review all the cases to see who's eligible for this or who's eligible for this particular transplant, that particular transplant. And Dr. Azrani, he was so sweet. He kept on fighting for me to see if I could see if they could find something to do. But when I went in June of 2020, and he told me I had 15 months. I don't know, I just kind of zoned out when he said 15 months. He was saying some other things, but I honestly don't remember after the 15 months because my mind just went somewhere else. And at that moment, all I could think about was my son and my grandson and my parents and my siblings. That's all I could think about was my family, and I wouldn't be able to see them. And then when I got up, I finally managed to get up off of the table. And as I was going to the door, and I opened the door, and he was out there talking to the nurses, and all of them just looked at me with just sadness in their eyes, right? And all I could hear him telling them was I had 15 months. And I honestly can't tell you how I made it home that day, because I really don't remember making it home that day. And my son, he would come over almost every day, to check on me or whatever the case may be. And I would just stay in the bed. I was in the bed for 3 days because I was just in a place where I was just sorry for myself, that they said I wasn't going to be here that long. But I remember on that third day, and it was like the Spirit of the Lord came into the room and he told me to get up. And I didn't get up at that moment, and then he came again and he said, get up. And I did not get up. I continued to lay there, right? And then so the third time he said it, I sat up in the bed, and then he said, get up and speak life over yourself. So I got up and I put on those same clothes that he told me I had 15 months in. And I remember putting on those same white shorts, the same maroon top, and I remember putting that on, and I stood in the mirror. I remember standing in the mirror, and I was telling myself that I will live and not die to declare the works of the Lord. And I begin just to speak the word and what the word says, that by his stripes that we are healed. And I begin to just say, that God can do far more exceedingly abundantly than anything we can ever ask or think. And I said, Lord, you said if I ask anything in your name, that you'll give it to me, right? And I bind up the spirit of fear, because it was fear just crippling me. And I just know that healing is the children's bread. And I just begin to just speak life over myself. And after I got up and did that, I don't know, I just felt at peace at that moment, but I was still dwindling every time I kept going. And I didn't tell anybody my immediate family. I didn't tell my immediate family that they had gave me 15 months because I didn't need anyone else to be counting down my days,
Right.
because I was counting them down within myself. And then so he had gave me some LASIK, to help with the swelling in my feet and help with which was called edema, and then the satiety in my stomach, which the swelling in my stomach. He had gave me some LASIK for that to help it go down. It all the swelling went down, all the fluid drained, but I still had to go get paracentesis like every so often. And I was constantly going to ER, constantly going to ER. It seemed like every other day, every other week, I was always in ER because I was in so much pain. And I can't describe the pain, but it was just this stabbing pain that just kept turning and turning, like somebody just kept cranking it up. And so I just remember, and I thank God though, because I remember when I went to, but I had like great people in my life, my family. And when you go through things like that, you just need a village, right? It just takes a village because you need people to hold you up. You need people to stand by you. And I thank God for my village. I thank God for my son, I thank God for everything, my grandson, even my niece, she would come over and she would get in the bed with me. She always got in the bed with me and she would just rub my back and stuff. And I praise God for that. And my sister, she would come over there and just make sure, I had something to eat and, just cooked. And then my cousin / sister or whatever, she was always there, always looking up stuff for me and everything. And just all of my siblings and my family and my brother, cousin, he was always there. And then when I got ready, and then when I got to the point to whereas I kept going and I kept going to the hospital. And then so I finally went in September. I went into September and they kept me like for a week and a half. And they decided to take a risk on me. And they said, we're going to take this risk. And Dr. Wahlberg came in and he was beginning to explain everything about what possibly could go wrong. So they performed a TACE chemoembolization on me. And so when they perform that TACE chemoembolization, it's like a big ball of beads, and they shoot these beads into the mass, which was in my liver, and it's supposed to just confine it just to the liver. So when they shoot it, when they put those beads in there, it's like millions and millions of beads that they release into that liver, into that targeted area, and it doesn't supposed to go outside of it. But once they did that, I praise God, it killed some of the cancer cells. And when it killed some of the cancer cells, I was able to get on the transplant list. And I thank God for that, because then when I went back to, I know I'm talking a lot, but
yeah, I gotta ask you some questions too. And hello to everybody that came through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying not to cry, but
okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Can I ask you this one question before you keep going? Was there any time, you said you kind of felt sorry for yourself sometimes. Was there ever a time where you asked God, why? Why did this have to happen? Why did you just give me 15 months to live? Like, did that question ever come across your mind?
Constantly, even though I had faith, but my faith like wavered at times, right? You would just like believe God. But then when you keep going to the doctor and he's telling you about putting you on the hospice, you're like, God, why me? I didn't drink. Because I never, I don't drink, I never drunk, I don't smoke. So why this happened to me, of all people, why this happened to me? So you question God. And so I questioned him as to why me, why this happened to me, because I could not understand it. I couldn't understand it for the life of me. And so, but God just came and gave me a peace. But there were still times where my faith wavered, There was time when you keep going to the doctor and they tell you you don't have nothing nothing to do. I didn't want to hear nobody to come calling me, telling me about Jesus on some days. I didn't want to hear it. Some days I didn't even want to talk to people. Don't come calling me, tell about God got you, God is there, whatever. I'm just being human and I'm being real. I didn't want to hear that on some days. Some days I
Right.
did not want to hear it. But he will always remind me of his word. He will always remind me of the miracles that I saw with my natural eye that God did, for people in the past, even with my son, even some people that I know personally, where it was nothing but God that healed them and delivered them. And even though I saw that, fear still yet gripped in, anger sometimes also gripped in because I could not understand it.
Hmm. I understand. I understand. So when they killed the cancer, you have some type of hope, right? So, and then they said, okay, well, we can put you on the transplant list. After that was said to you, how were you feeling then? Were you really starting to see God's hand work in your life, or you were still kind of doubting?
When they told me that they had killed some of the cancer cells, that brought so much joy. That brought so much joy, and it brought like hope into me, right? And so I was very hopeful. So I put out a announcement on Facebook, put out, a thing on Facebook, put out one on my job because my job was so supportive of me too. I put out one, at church, and so I just even like text messages to, to family and friends. And there were so many people that, applied to be my donor, right? Because there's so many things that determines whether you're a match for a person or not. So that did give me hope. That gave me a lot of hope when he told me they killed some of the cancer cells, and I was able to get on the transplant list. That just gave me so much hope within my heart. Even my hepatologist at that time, he was like, yeah, they killed some of the cancer cells, but we still need to find a donor, and we still need to find a donor as soon as possible because you still have that.
Okay. They're having technical difficulties. Miss Mary, y'all might have to drop back down and come back up. I'm not sure what happened. Thank you guys for coming through. I appreciate Miss April, Miss Tina, Miss CC. Thank you so much for everybody that it just stopped by. Miss North Carolina chick, Miss V, Miss Ann. Let's see who else came through. Mr. Reggie Reg. We got Rich Niggas. Thank you for coming through, sweetie. Dawn, Miss Thrive and Glow, Jack Jones, and then we got Real Chase. I appreciate you. She just having some technical difficulties. Just give us a few minutes, and hopefully shortly she'll be back shortly. So thank you so much. This is a Hey, Chill, how are you? This is a powerful story, you guys. And this is going to happen in everybody's life. It might not be the same experience, but you're going to have a period in your life where you're going to wonder, what am I going to do? You have no control of the situation. And the only thing you can do is look up. So, and Miss Mary is going to be continuing. Okay. Thank you for coming back. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So start where you ended.
Yeah, on them telling me that they killed some of the cancer cells. I was so grateful. I was so grateful. I was relieved, and it gave me so much hope. And so I started like sending letters, putting stuff on Facebook, putting stuff on Instagram, sharing it with my family and friends, and they shared it. They helped me compose my letter and everything. So I'm just so grateful that I was able to make the transplant list, and I'm grateful that my family and friends applied to be my donor, that they love me enough, to want to see me live, and I'm
That's
just
Lord.
grateful for that. And so I just thank God for it each and every day, for my niece, being my donor. You just don't know how much that sacrifice, that part of her that she sacrificed to be my donor means to me, because I didn't even know she had apply. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know until she called me that day. But I'm just so grateful, and I'll be forever grateful to her, just forever in debt to her. Not in debt, but just forever grateful that her kindness, her little selfless act of kindness just did so much. Not only was she a soldier on the field, but she a soldier off the field, to want to just spare my life. She's out there with the country, but okay.
Well, let me ask Brittany this. So, Brittany, besides that, you had a great relationship. I'm assuming you have a wonderful relationship with your aunt. You were there for her in the most challenging experience in her life. One of the most challenging experiences. What, besides you loved her, she was your aunt, what really compelled you to be like, I need to do this for my aunt?
So I did some research. I was researching what blood type you had to have, and like what would be my height, weight. I was doing a whole bunch of research on what I need to do. I mean, what the donor need to qualify as. And so I did my research, and then I prayed about it, and I got my answer to do it. So I registered without telling her, because I didn't want to get anybody hopes up. But in my heart, I knew it was going to happen because I prayed about it and I got my answer. That's why I proceeded with it.
What were some of the qualifications to maybe become a donor?
I know one was blood type. Another was body type.
Body type. Okay.
The weight. And then I think we had to go through tests to make sure you didn't physical. You had to make sure you didn't have certain diseases and different infections, diseases, sicknesses. So they ran a whole bunch of tests. When I say a whole bunch of tests, they ran a whole bunch. And I did a psych test as well.
Psych test. Okay, so the blood type, what particular type of blood type that you had to have?
You had to be a match for your blood type.
I was O positive, so I believe O positive was what
universal.
Matched. Yes. So and hers was like A something, and I knew mine was universal to match hers. So
right, you're a universal donor, and that's why they constantly call me for blood because of me being O. Yes, that is definitely a factor, especially when you're donating anything. They have to check your blood type, and if you're a universal donor, more than likely you can help a lot of people. So you went through that, and thank God it was a match.
Yes.
It was a match. When you found out the news, tell me how your emotions were. And Miss Mary, I want to get your how you felt once you found out that Brittany is going to be a match for you.
I was happy. I cried. I was supposed to. The plan was for me to do a big surprise and present it to her, but I couldn't hold it. So I told her. I called and told her. And we found out like that. I couldn't hold it.
Right. I can imagine that. That's a beautiful story. So you couldn't hold it, and so once Miss Mary, once you found out after she couldn't hold it anymore, what were you feeling? I know you was ecstatic, but I want you to take me to that day when you found out that Brittany was your match.
we were on the phone, and I don't know how it came up, but anyway, it was me, her, and her mom was on the phone. And so she said, TT Mary, she said, you said, I'm a match. I was like, huh? I was confused.
Uh-huh.
I was like, then she said, I didn't want to tell you, but she said, but I'm a perfect match. I was just so overwhelmed, so grateful, so thankful, and so excited. I was laughing and crying all at the same time. It was
Right.
just, because I just didn't know. I mean, even her mom never told me she applied, and so I was so overjoyed, just can't express how I felt at that time in words, because when she told me that, I just was like, huh? I really was kind of shocked at first because nobody said anything. And I was just like, and I just started crying. I started laughing. I was just like, oh my God. I think I kept saying, oh my God, oh my God.
So you was just like stunned, like thank God my prayer has been answered. Right.
Yeah.
So once your prayer is finally answered, Brittany's a perfect match. I wanted you to take me into after that, what happened where with the surgery. I want you to go into that part.
We had transplant surgery on November 30th of 2020. And so we got there, you have to be there early in the morning, like at 5 something, and we went in together. We went in together, and because of COVID, we could not be in the same room. So she was next to me. She was in the little they, divided by the little curtain or
Right,
whatever.
right.
So she was next door to me, and I was there, but I still got up out of my bed and went over there.
Yes.
And we had our little photo session, and we prayed and everything, because it was COVID and I really wasn't supposed to be over there, but I got
Right,
up and went over there anyway. And so we went into surgery. Her husband was there, my son was there. We went into surgery together. She went first, and then I went, right? Yeah, she went first, because they had to get her liver out or whatever. And then so when we came out of surgery, I just wanted to make sure she was okay, that she was okay. And so I was asking my son, is she okay? Is she okay? Just making sure she was okay. And she was, but
I was doing the same. When I
yeah.
woke up, I was like, where did you marry it? Did you get it? Did it run?
Yeah, we was just like that, surgery was a process, but there was a lot going on, because I went to ICU. You went straight to a room, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went to ICU. She went to.
I think I stayed in ICU maybe 30 minutes. It wasn't long. And I went to a regular room. They told me 5 days. I was going to be home in 5 days.
Oh my God. We went in together, but we didn't come out together. And that was the most hardest thing, to leave her back there. And I left, but she stayed. And I can't tell you the amount of guilt that I had, because I felt like she would not have been in that position if it was not for me, if she hadn't done that for me. And I had so much guilt. And she kept saying, TT Mary, look, she said, I know what I was doing or whatever. She said, it's not you, she said, it was like, it's not your fault, but I can't explain it. I just felt like I carried that I had so much guilt, because we came in together. We were supposed to leave together, and she was there for like 19 days, and that was a long time, just undergoing.
Why was she there so long? Like, what was it due to the COVID?
No. They tell you the list of things that could possibly go wrong, and one of them was bowel. They could nick your bowels, your bowel ducts, and they nicked me, and so I had my bowels was leaking and starting to set up sepsis. or something. Yeah.
Oh,
And so
wow.
they had to get that under control, and then they had to go in. I had to go in and get some those stents put in my bowels to open them up.
And the first time they didn't know what it was. It took
Yeah.
them a couple of
It took them
days
a while to
to
figure
Actually, it was a miracle for
because
you too, Brittany, because you could have died.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my vision started going out. I was telling them, I was like, I don't know, something's going on in my eyes. I can't see. Like they was going crazy. I couldn't see. My vision was going in and out. I had my fever spike, and it took them a while before they figured out. And then they went and pumped out all that bile out of my stomach, and it was like some containers, about 3 or 4 containers they filled up. They got out.
Wow. That is insane. So that's why you were in the hospital longer than she was, and you felt guilty, Miss Mary, at the time, because you were just like, it's my fault that she's going through this right now. So I want you to, besides you blaming yourself, like, did you stop thinking about yourself at that time? It was all about, Brittany at the time. Or tell me how you were feeling.
I was guilty. It wasn't about me. It was about her, and making sure she was okay. Making sure she came home, to her family, to her son, and just making sure she was okay. I didn't care about me at that point. All I cared about was her and her well-being. And we were praying. I was praying or whatever. And when she came home, that was one of the best days of my life, for her to come home. And my brother cousin, he was like, I'm going to take you on over, because I was like, I want to go over there. They was like, you don't supposed to be out or whatever. He was like, if you want to go, I'll take you.
Mm-hmm.
She looking when I came up, and I'm like, what you doing over there?
Mm-hmm.
But I was determined.
Snuck over there and got in trouble.
Yeah, I did.
To see her. So
Yeah.
after you guys get out the hospital, you both are in recovery, I want you to take me, Miss Mary, where you're in recovery. What are the doctors saying about your health at that point?
Well, I got out on a Friday, and I ended up going back to have a procedure on that Tuesday, because I still couldn't, they still wouldn't allow me to go see her, but I went back in on that Tuesday because I couldn't explain it, but I was just like so out of it. I was just like tired, whatever it was, like I was having a hard time functioning. And so when I got there, I got to because you have clinicals every other day, like for your first week of your transplant, you're going every day. And so when I got there on that Monday, I was looking horrible. I was feeling horrible. And I couldn't explain to them what I was going through. But they went in and did an ERCP on me. They went in and did a procedure on me. And they found out that my hepatic vein had started narrowing up. It had started closing. So they had to go in and they had to put a balloon in there to open me up. And so once they put that balloon in there to open it up, oh my God, I came out of recovery. I felt so much better. You know what I'm saying? I just felt so much better. And then but our first year was the roughest year, because she developed bile ducts while she was there. Then I have bile ducts. And with bile ducts, one of my friends, Deborah Ray, she's a nurse, and she will always say, never get she's like a PA, but she was like, don't block the ducts. You're in trouble if the ducts ever get blocked. And it's like, I can't explain it. It was like a mad truck just sit up on your chest. I don't know what I got to do with the chest, but it feel like you're about to have a heart attack. You are in just that much pain. Like they took 2 18-wheelers and sit it up on you. And you cannot I'm telling you, it's like you about to have a heart attack, like you about to leave this world. And so she developed bile ducts. I developed bile ducts. She had to have 2 stent surgeries. I had to have 2 stent surgeries. It was just crazy because the first stents didn't work. So they have to go in and put 2 stents like they did her.
I had to go back. Yeah.
Yeah, they did her like that. She had like 2 or 3.
I had.
Yeah, like
Did I have 2 other procedures? It was either 2 or 3. I went back 2 or 3 times.
yeah. You have to go back, you know, you just have to keep going back, getting all these additional stents. But the first year was the most trying year, in which they tell you that anyway. The first year is your adjustment period, you know, because you have to like just get acclimated to this. You have a new part in your body, you know, you have a new part in there. It's just like you go into an auto shop and you put in that new engine. The engine got to get all acclimated to all this other stuff going on. So it's just like we got a new part in this old body. So it's trying to adjust. And as this adjusting, it's going through like different phases and tests of, you know, and you're like, that it don't feel good all the time. It doesn't feel good. Well, not all of the time, none of the time does it feel good, but
Right.
it's just constantly making adjustments. And so they had told us that when we had the transplant, and my doctor would tell me that even when I was going back for my clinicals, you know, that it's just an adjustment. You know, your body is just making adjustments to the new part. And so I hate to put it like a auto part, but that's the best way I can describe it.
So let me ask you this question. She got okay, Miss Mary, you got some of Brittany's liver. How did
I got her right liver.
Her right liver? Okay, because see, that's what I'm trying to understand. I haven't did research on the liver and the different parts, but there's a right and a left part of your liver. So
You have a right lobe and a left lobe.
okay, a right lobe and a left lobe. Okay, and so you got that a part of that. Okay, that's what I
No,
want.
no. I got her whole right lobe. They took her right lobe out. Because remember, I don't have a liver. Mine is less than 15%. So they took out her right lobe. They took out her right lobe and put it inside of me. And the liver is the only organ that regenerates. And so when her liver, mine grew back the right way, right? It grew back the way it was supposed to grow back. You know, I had the right lobe. They put it over there. Now, when her liver grew back, it grew back in the wrong direction.
Okay. That's why she has complications. Okay. So once you're going through this, you're feeling better. Brittany is starting to kind of recover and get back to her health again. What's going on with you now? Where are you now?
Oh my God. I'm doing great. Like, I thank God that God is He's continually adding years to my life, years of good health to my life. There are times, you know, we still, because I think she does too, you still get the pain. They still come. They don't stop coming, you know, well, they haven't yet. It's been 4.5 years. And it comes out of nowhere, like nowhere.
Where's the pain at?
In your stomach. Over on your right side. And then when it comes, it's like a sharp pain that comes out of nowhere and it'll stop you in your tracks. Sometimes it may have me bent over, I don't know, but it just pops up out the blue wherever you may be. It gonna make you stop. It gonna put everything on pause.
So the doctor said that that's normal in this, you know,
it's
process.
Normal. Okay. It's normal. I still, you know, I'm on rejection meds. I'm on 2 different kinds of rejection meds. So I take those, you know, every day. They say it's for the rest of my life, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm praying it ain't for the rest of my life. I seen a study where this lady, they took her off. So we'll see. But it's supposed to be for the rest of my life, my rejection meds.
What are rejection meds?
It's to prevent the liver from rejecting, from, going bad, rejecting. I don't want to say go bad, but I guess that's a term I can use though, for to keep the liver from not doing what it's supposed to do.
Okay. So you're still taking your rejection meds and you're feeling better. What is your new leash on life? Like, what is something that you tell anybody that you know about your journey and how um what you've been through? Like, how have you helped other people
You
with this story?
you can't lose faith. You know what I'm saying? You can't lose faith. I mean, you're gonna have sometime it may waver, but that's what you have villages for, to stand in the gap when you can't stand on your own. Because there are going to be times when you can't stand on your own and you can't fight it alone. You may have to go. Nobody knows the pain you're going through, no, because they're not living your journey, but
Okay.
you're living your journey. So my thing is hold fast to God's word regardless. I know sometimes it may be tough to do, but that's what you have villages for. And get your villages and let your village be there for you, because they can hold you up, they can encourage you. But God has the final say so in all things. Devil can give you an expiration date, doctors can give you an expiration date, but God has the final say. And for me, God wasn't finished with me. And I'm so grateful for that he's continually adding years to my life, and I just honor God for that because it's nobody but him. And I thank him for life, and even when you're going through ordeals, just as like what I went through, it's good to talk to your family, especially when you have children. I encourage you to talk to your children because they don't fully understand, they don't fully understand. Your family don't fully understand, but it's good for them to get that understanding. And sometimes they may have to go to counseling. I didn't go to counseling right after that, but I go to counseling now though. I go to counseling now because you still struggle sometimes, even when that pain comes. Sometimes that little part of you be thinking this is something serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, what is this? Do I need to go see this? It just takes you back there to whereas you may think negative, and then you have to like talk to yourself, pull yourself together. And I talk with my hands, so I'm so sorry. But
No,
you
it's
just
okay.
have
I
to
do
pull
too.
yourself together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to pull yourself together. So sometimes you said fear does try to creep in when you have those pains and stuff. It still creeps in, but you keep remaining faithful to, God and to your faith, basically. I wanted to ask you when you were going through all that, especially when they gave you 15 months to live, did you start preparing, for arrangements like for your funeral, or did you just say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go through the process and see what happens?
I went to see a legal representative because I wanted to make sure all of my finances was in order. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure, and even though I should already had that done, but I just wanted to make sure everything was together because you gave me 15 months, but I wanted to make sure in the event that something did happen, that all of my things was in order. So I went to go see legal counsel to make sure I had a will, to make sure I had a will, make sure I had everything in place in my will. And, it's for, even though I only have one son and one grandson, and I have siblings, but I wanted to make sure everything was lined up. And so for me, like even now when I tell my sister now, they don't agree with it or whatever, but, I'm like, I don't want no funeral, like, no, that money can go somewhere else. That's just me, right? No,
Mm-hmm.
you ain't gotta do no funeral for me. You can just take me from the funeral home on down there to the burial, say whatever, and just go on. You just get like 5-10 minutes and we done. But that's just where I am. So even like to this day, that's just something that my family knows, my son knows, and my sister knows to this day. I just don't want all of that.
Did you ever say, I know you were going
But
through a
I
lot.
prepared,
Mhm. You were going through a lot of mixed feelings
say
at
that
the
again.
you were going through a lot of mixed feelings at the time when you found out, your diagnosis and everything. Did you ever just say, you know what, let me just make peace with God and be done with it? Or did you just like, you know what, regardless, I'm just going to believe God and I'm going to keep pushing through?
I was already, well, me myself, I felt like uh, when I got that diagnosis, I was upset. I couldn't understand the reason as to why things was happening to me. I knew that if I was to leave that day, I wasn't ready to die because I had a lot to do. I felt I had a lot to do. I had to see my grandson graduate from high school, all of that stuff. So
Right,
I was like Hezekiah, I want to turn my face to the wall and ask God to add these years on to my life,
right, right.
because I was, even though I felt like spiritually I was ready, God called me home, that I would go to heaven, but I wasn't ready. I want to see my son, see my grandson, see my nephews and stuff, see them graduate as well, and just, I had a lot I had to do and see that I want to be around for. I wasn't ready to go.
Yeah, and the
Naturally,
reason why I asked that, it may seem like, I asked you, before, but I asked that because some people, I remember when my brother-in-law was going through his diagnosis and they gave him 46 weeks to live. He wasn't ready to go, but he did want to make sure that he was at peace with God and that his family was taken care of. So that was one of the reasons why I asked you that.
Mhm.
Um, Brittany, I wanted to know, what did you learn out of all of this that you went through, being the perfect match for your aunt, and then having to go through your own medical, problems and how you recovered? What did you learn through all of this?
Um, what did I learn? You got me with that one. Let's see.
I got you with that one, huh?
Let's see. What did I learn? Um, I learned to have more faith in the Lord, because I know it was one day in the hospital. I was screaming, "Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jesus!" And all those doctors came in there and they was looking at me crazy, and I just started praying and I started feeling better. So I learned to have more faith in God.
So before, your faith was not really strong.
Correct. It
Okay.
wasn't correct.
So basically, you had like your auntie, I had a come to Jesus meeting. No. So that's a wonderful story. So Mary, you're doing a lot better. You're looking great. God is doing some great things in your life. Um, there's a woman or a man, they may be listening to you, and you said it before, just keep your faith and don't give up. But there's a woman that's going through what you're going through. There's a man that's going through what you're going through, and they don't see any hope. They don't have the support system that you have, where they have family members that would maybe donate to them. What would you tell them, right now, that they're struggling, and they don't see any hope? There's nobody there around them to help them. What advice would you give them besides hold on and keep the faith?
First, I would just just give them, because I meet them where they are naturally. So, because I know how it feels to be where they are naturally, I would not underplay what they're feeling naturally, because I know what you're going through. I know, that you whatever, but I said, And I will let them know after we go to the natural thing or whatever. I said, but for me, if you can just find that one little glimmer of hope and you just believe and just trust God with all that you have, and you may not be there because some people may not be there. They may not have that relationship with God, but I'll ask them, if you want me to pray for you, that your faith be increased. Because he said, if we have the faith of a mustard seed, and a mustard seed is
Can you
very
repeat
small.
that?
So I
Can you
said,
repeat that?
oh, I'm sorry.
Repeat
I
that.
was saying that
Uh-huh.
after we go through what we're feeling in the natural, because I don't want to underplay anybody's natural feelings because we're human beings. And so we go through things naturally, where you're upset with God, you may want to like whatever. But then I will also bring them back to the word. The Bible says if we have the faith of a grain, just the mustard seed faith, that he hear us, so we can speak to mountains, we can speak to this, we can speak to that. So instead of us focusing on that thing, I would encourage you, just let me pray for you to where as we see it, even if you don't see it, don't look to the right, don't look to the left, but stay focused on God. Stay focused on your healing. You got to see it. It's just like a vision. See yourself being healed. See yourself walking. See your stomach going down. See your feet going down. See it in the spirit. We can see so many things in the natural eye. We can see ourselves getting a car. We've been wanting this car for 10 years. And so we see that car, but why don't we see our health that way? Why don't we see other things that way in our lives, whether it's your healing, whether it's your natural body or some other thing, but we have to see it. You have to see it. It's just like a vision, it said, write the vision, make it plain, but we have to, that's the same way our faith is. Faith is the substance of things, hope for the evidence of things not seen. So you have to see it because not all the time you're going to feel it. And I will let them know that it's not all the time. That's what I ran into a lady in the store the other day, and I was coming from somewhere and I had on this shirt, about hope. And it was like, because I'm a member of the Southwest Transplant Alliance. And so I had that t-shirt on, and lo and behold, that lady was going through a liver disease, and she stopped me. And so we had a conversation, and I began to share with her my journey. And then before we left, we prayed together, right? It was a white lady. We was in the Walmart in Red Oak. And so we just began to pray together, and she hugged me and she said, thank me. She thanked me because she said she was feeling really down at that moment, and just that interaction just gave her a little hope to go on. And so that's all people need is just that little bit of hope just to go on. And you may not find it in your family. You may not find it in your family. There's not no one there that may be there for you, but you got to know it within yourself. Because not all the time you're going to have somebody to encourage you. Not all the time you're going to have somebody to lift you up, but you got to know within all that isn't what you believe. Right. Because just like the three Hebrews, they was like, I know that God is able, and we have to know that God is able, even though you may not see it, because you're not going to see it all the time. You're not going to feel it all the time. But when you know that you know that you know, that's what you stand on. You stand on the word of God. And if you don't believe God, I don't know what else to say, because that's who I believe. That's just who I believe. I don't know what anybody else does, but I can only tell you about me and my relationship with God is that I believe God. I believe God to be a healer. I believe God to be a restorer. I believe God to be a deliverer. I believe God to be all of those things he said he would be. So that's where my faith lies. And I thank God for that. I thank God for, the leadership of the church I was under to help. That church really did build my faith, and I honor God for that. I thank God for Pastor Ransom, and the messages he used to teach on faith. And I saw that. And then God will take you back. And if we just think back to all the things that God have done in our lives, if we think back to those things that it wasn't nothing but God, man, it's just like, I tell you, that alone will give you hope. That alone will give you so much just faith to begin to build. You just begin to thank him for that day you almost got hit by a car. That car almost hit you, and you'll be like, nothing but God. You be like, thank you, Lord. And you think back to that because that could have got T-bone and got hurt or whatever. So that's just it. That's it for me. And so that was my experience on some of the people that I ran into, that went through kind of like what I went through, and so just sharing my journey and, just making sure I meet them where they are naturally first, because you can't downplay people natural feelings because they're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
But then yet you minister to them in the word and encourage them in the word.
So what if there's somebody that is lying on their deathbed? The doctor said there's definitely no hope. They're on their, because there's a lot of people that have cancer that don't have your story and that will not have the story because maybe it's their time. What would you say to that person that's on that deathbed that does not have the same hope that you had?
When you go in to pray for people, we don't know what the will of God is, to be honest. Nobody knows. The doctor gave me 15 months. That person on their deathbed looked like they about to get out of here in the next second because I was walking death myself. We don't never know the miraculous power of God because he heals who he heals. So we don't know exactly what it is. But when you go in with that praying for that person, you go in with praise and expectations, nothing less than praise and expectation. I don't care what the doctor is saying. You pray, you expect God to do whatever, and you come on out. And if it's not the will of God to heal that particular person, who are we to say that that's the will of God? Because I don't know the will of God. And so, but that does not limit who God is. You know what I'm saying? Because he's still yet a healer. Just because he healed me and didn't heal this person does not mean he doesn't heal. We just don't know. There's a scripture and I can't quote it, but he talks about, who he heals and who he doesn't heal. That's just who he is. But I'm not God. I don't make those decisions. We don't make those decisions. But our faith just believes because we know that he's able to do those things. We know that he's able to raise up, people. We know that he's able to heal. We know that he's able to deliver. I just know that God is able to do that. But he chose to heal me. He did. I mean, he allowed me to be here, 4.5 years later. He has allowed me to be here. And I can't speak for other people because there are some people, family and friends that have gone on and I'm still here. Right. For whatever reason they have gone on. And sometimes, I look at that and I'll be like, Lord, I was looking for you to raise that person up, but it just wasn't his will.
Okay. So basically, sometimes faith rules out logic.
Yeah.
It rules out logic. So I really appreciate you guys. I don't want to hold too much of your time. I know Brittany has to go back to work. But I definitely want to know, did you guys feel comfortable? Did y'all have a good time?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we did.
Is there anybody in my chat or that is listening that would like to ask them a question? If so, type now because I'm going to end in a few minutes. But I definitely wanted to give you guys the opportunity, especially Miss Mary, to tell your story. Like I said, Miss Millie was just raving about you and saying how you have such a wonderful story. And then when I talked to you, I really felt like, wow, I need to get you on my my live stream so people can be encouraged by this, because it's a lot of people that's going through stuff. They might not be going through cancer. They might be going through something else, maybe financial, maybe loneliness. There's a lot of different mental illness. There's a lot of different things that happen to people. They just need a little hope. So this is not just for people that have struggled with cancer. This is people that struggle with life. Life brings about many challenges. I would say to us all, none of us are exempt, and I don't care how good we got it, how bad we got it.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it's such a blessing that you have the family that you have to be able to be like, you know what? Let me go see if I can be a donor. Let me ask, I'm gonna go back because you kind of told me the qualifications of being a donor. How can a person be a donor if they see the story and they would like to go about being a donor for someone?
They can go and register on donatelife.net, or they can also, when you do your driver's license, they have a little box you check and where you can become a donor. And so to become a living donor, which Brittany was a living donor, and she wanted to donate specifically to me. So you just contact the hospital or whatever and let them know you want to, because when you go on Donate Life, if you're donating for a person too, they have a little box on there. So, but you can go directly to the transplant center and let them know that you want to register to be a donor for that particular person. And then if you are not a match for that particular person, they'll see if you still want to donate to someone else. They call it pairing. I think that's the name of it, but I think that's the technical name. But if you're not a donor for that person, they'll ask you if you wanted to donate to someone else. But you
Okay.
go to donatelife.net and you can apply there or on your driver's license.
Okay.
Now on your
So,
driver's license, that'll be more or less for like deceased donors, right? On your,
yes.
if you do it like on your driver's license, that's more or less like for deceased donors. And so, yeah,
Okay. And to give us that website again, please.
donatelife.net.
Okay. Just in case anybody want to know. And then I'll also go back on my description and put it in as well. So and text me that, Miss Mary, so I can put that in my description box. For people that are interested, or maybe you know somebody that is thinking about donating to a loved one, they don't know how to go about it. You can go through that particular website, and they can give you the steps on what it takes to be a to donate, as well as like I was telling you, if you know if you have fatalities or anything on the back of your driver's license, of course you will be a deceased, but you could still be a organ donor even through that. So thank you so much, Miss Mary. If any you or Brittany have any last words that you would like to share with my audience today, you're free to do that at this time.
No, I just want to encourage everyone to register to be donors because it's so important. The most organ that they're waiting on is kidneys. Kidney is like over 100,000 people nationwide, but the greatest is kidneys, and the most people that need it are African Americans. So you have like 80% that are African Americans waiting on kidneys. And so if they could get a liver donor for liver donor, not a liver donor, but a living donor for a kidney, that would be great because we as African Americans are the largest ones waiting on that organ.
All right.
And so it's just so important.
I see a lot of African Americans taking dialysis, and that's pretty alarming to me. Why so many African Americans statistically are on dialysis? That's very alarming and kind of it's very serious. So, guys, we have to take care of our body the best way we can, and if we are able to help other people, then let's do that. Thank you so much, Mary and Brittany. You guys are always on my platform. I will keep in contact with you, Miss Mary. And again, before you leave today, make sure that you text me that a particular website so that I can put that in my description box. And anybody that would be interested, or they maybe know someone, they can pass on the information to them. So thank you so much, guys.
All right. Thank you, Miss Selena. Thanks.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Guys, this was a beautiful story. I hope that you guys got something from it. And if you didn't, maybe you can pass this live stream on to somebody else that is struggling with having hope going through cancer. Cancer seems to be it's a monster, and it affects a lot of people. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how good of health you think you are in. Cancer affects a lot of people, and it is something that I wish that they could kill. It takes a lot of very great people, and so I'm not going to talk too much on that. But I do appreciate everybody that came through, whether it was to press the like button or to just subscribe or be a member, whatever it was that you did today, donate. I appreciate that for you. I appreciate that from you. I mean, I really appreciate, guys, you showing me some love, even if it's 9 people in here, 10 people. This type of live is not going to, people are going to pass it by. But guys, somebody that may know somebody else that may need to hear this. So shout out to Miss Mary and her beautiful niece, Brittany. I hope them well. I pray that God just keeps blessing them and keep healing them as well. And shout out to everybody that came through. Love y'all to Reese's Pieces, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Salina.
It's a vibe, baby. Oak Cliff girl, can't make you change my world. Damn, you're so fine, girl. Oak Cliff girl, put them heels on and rule.
Welcome to Selena's Couch, where you are welcome to be free to be yourself. So you can lay your head on my couch, on my pillows.
It's all good, we can do whatever we wanna do now. I'm in my bag right now, and I got a feeling, babe, yeah. You're gonna be my number one lover. Spend the night making love to each other, with the lights on top of the covers. Just me and you, babe. And I feel like you're my
Love you to Reese's Pieces.
Get you a word. Nana boo boo.